In today's lesson, we are looking at quadratic formula, also called by me the Quadratic formula. So we are going to learn the formula, and we're going to use the formula to solve different quadratic equations. As you can see, the formula is quadratic, so you can only solve quadratic equations with this formula. The quadratic formula is, well, it's here if it's not clear enough. Okay, x is the variable, so x equal the answers minus b plus and minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. You do have to remember this formula. You will be given a calculator to solve this kind of question, usually if it requires quadratic formula to solve it. There's a plus and minus, means you, for the first time you do a plus, and the second time you replace a plus with a minus, so you can get two answers out of it. There are a lot of cheesy songs about quadratic formula people make on YouTube. If you're interested, you can go on and play it yourself.
X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
The values of a, b, and c come from the quadratic equation itself, so ax squared plus bx plus c. Does anyone know what is the name of this number in front of x squared? There's a name for this kind of numbers in front of the variable. Start from the word c. Not clown. Coefficient. Okay, so a and b are called the coefficient, and c is called the constant. It serves one and only purpose. The formula is to solve quadratic equations. So if you can't, not all the quadratic equations could be factorized. If it can't be factorized, the best way to solve it is to use a formula. However, not all quadratic equations can be solved. Some have no solutions, or technically we'll call it no real roots. So graphically, it means the graph is not touching the x-axis. For example, in here like this graph will have no real roots or no solutions. We'll look into a bit more in details in later example. So first example, solve 5x squared plus 11x plus 2 equals 0. So right, so I'm just going to rewrite the quadratic formula again. So x equal minus b plus and minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Best thing I would suggest you do is you do write down what the value of a, b, and c stand for, including the sign. So a is 5, b is 11, c is 2. I do not include the sign, is because they are all positive. So now we can use it. So in exam, I would suggest you to write the formula, write the formula once using your numbers, because this will protect you from losing all the marks if you got the final answer wrong. Okay, so you get a method mark. So minus b is 11 plus and minus square root b squared 11 squared minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. So you put in a calculator. Now you put 1 with a plus. That means you should do the 1 just with a plus like this. 11. Remember, put a bracket, by the way. You see all the brackets I do in there. Follow me and put in a calculator. Okay, 2 times 5. So put this in a calculator. So put this in a calculator. You should get minus 0.2. And 1, you should replace the plus with a minus. So minus 11 squared minus 4 times a. And this one you should get minus 2. So your final answer, so x equals negative 0.2 or minus 2. Graphically, what it means is the graph will be touching the x-axis at minus 2 and minus 0.2. You don't need to draw this. I'm just showing you how these numbers relate to the graph. Similar to this one, when you see the question wants to give you one decimal place, you know chances are this could be factorized quite easily. So we use a quadratic formula. This time a is 2, b is negative 5, and c is negative 6. So when you rewrite it, just be careful. Now, I would personally write down the minus and then minus 5s. I'll put both minus in there. Okay, so negative b plus and minus square root. When you put b squared, make sure to put a bracket minus 5 squared. If you're unsure why, very simple, in a calculator, do me this experiment. Put in a calculator, see the difference. Minus 5 squared and minus 5 squared. On the top, you get 25, and the bottom you get minus 25. Reason being is when you do the square the negative, it becomes positive. Therefore, when you square it, you're squaring the whole thing, pull a bracket. Okay, bracket, 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 bracket. Minus 4 times a times c, negative 6, all over 2a. Right, so put in a calculator, you should get one number, should be 3.386, and the other number should be negative 0.886. We have to round to one decimal place, so x equals 3.4 or negative 0.9. Here comes practice question 1. Use a calculator and use a quadratic formula to solve the following equations. Give your answer to two decimal places. When you're ready for the answer, you can press play. Question A, B, and C should be fairly straightforward. Now for D and E, you do have to rewrite the equation and make one side equal 0. So for D, you should rewrite 7x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. Your A will be 7, B will be 3, C will be minus 2. And for E, you should get 5x squared minus 10x plus 1 equals 0. Then your A will be 5, B will be minus 10, and C will be 1. For F, there is no B term, so for F, you could do A equals 3, B equals 0, and C equals negative 145. Here's an example. Use the quadratic formula to solve 3x squared minus x plus 4 equals 0. What does the calculator show? So you can put in a calculator and let me know your answer. So we know A is 3, B is negative 1, C is 4. So x equal negative minus 1 plus and minus square root of minus 1 squared minus 4 times 3 times 4 over 2a. Now, it doesn't matter how many times you put in a calculator, the calculator hopefully there is no issue with the calculator. Normally, it will give you maths error. Okay, this is not wrong. Okay. Now, pi, the answer is maths error. So part B, what does happen? Now, the reason it happened is because something to do with the square root. Now, if we just look at this part, okay, inside square root. So if I just take this outside square root, okay, and do it in here. So, oops. So if I take this outside square root and do the here. So minus 1 squared is, put in a calculator, you should get negative 47. Now, what is the issue with that is, okay, so the issue is you cannot square root negative numbers, and that's why it doesn't give you any value. So part B, you would say it happens, okay, it happens because you cannot square root negative numbers. Now, if you want a technical explanation for this, is that this number minus 47 has a name. It's called the discriminant. If you're interested in doing A-level maths, or if you do further maths in GCSE, you will probably come across this word. It's called discriminant. Discriminant. So a more technical explanation is it happens because the discriminant is negative. Okay, now this is optional. So I think I've seen one question exam happens before, but it doesn't often come up very common. So it doesn't often come up. So it happens. Okay, this happens. There's no solution. So you would say there's no solution because you cannot square root negative numbers, or you would say because the discriminant is negative. By the way, this word is a good word for hangman.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Here comes practice question 2. Have a go at a question. When you're ready for the answer, you can press play. So here's solution. Or actually, should I say, here's the no solution. So you can see I used the b squared minus 4ac. In here, you get negative 71. It's no solution because the discriminant is negative. Or you can say because you cannot square root negative numbers. So this question, you will be given, you can use a calculator, okay? Because you can, imagine this question, I should have put a calculator, but this question is in a calculator paper. Below given is a right angle triangle, work a value of x, and give your answer to nearest integer. So pause the video, have a go at the question. When you're ready for the answer, or if you need my explanation, you can press play. Now this question tells you the right angle triangle is a massive hint on what you can do, because in a right angle triangle, there's really two things you can do. One is called Pythagoras, and the other is called trigonometry. Now, trigonometry involves angles, like for example the SOHCAHTOA, if you know, or you can know as SOHCAHTOA. But this question has nothing to do with the angles apart from right angles, so we're not using trigonometry. So Pythagoras is the way to go. Pythagoras a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, remember this makes the Greek mathematician Pythagoras rest in peace. So a squared plus b squared. So a and b doesn't matter which one is a and b, but c has to be the hypotenuse. So a could be x minus 1 squared, b is 2x minus 3 squared equals 2x plus 7 squared. So what we can do here is we have the expanded bracket. Now, this is the double bracket, so do not do x minus 1 squared does not equal to x squared minus 1. You cannot apply square like this, okay? Big no. You will have to do x minus 1 times x minus 1 like this. So if you expand a bracket, you get x squared minus 2x plus 1. If you have no clue how to do that, now I've given you first clue. You might want to go on and try to do the question. You can pause and finish it off. But if you do, hopefully you do expand it correctly. So for x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals 4x squared plus 28x plus 49. If you wonder how do I expand double bracket that quickly, I'll teach you a shortcut in here. Now let's say we do 2x minus 3 squared. What you do is, first of all, 2x squared is 4x squared. 3 squared is 9. Okay. Next, to find the middle term, you're going to multiply these two terms together, multiply them, and then times it by 2. So 2x times 3 is 6x. 6x times 2 is 12x. Because there's a minus, there's a minus. If it's 2x plus 3, it will be 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. Anyway, so, and then rearrange the whole equation, because this is a quadratic equation, you can see the biggest power is 2, so you can, to solve a quadratic equation, you need to bring everything to one side and make the other equal 0. So probably move everything left hand side, make it equal 0. So 4x squared, move it, becomes minus. So you should get x squared minus 42x minus 39 equals 0. Now this could not be done by factorizing, so you should be using a calculator for using a quadratic formula. You should also know to use quadratic formula because the question tells you to give your answer to nearest integer. Means chances are the number's not going to be integer in the first place. So, and factorizing won't give you any number apart from integer. So you should put in a calculator, you should get x equals 4.3 or negative 0.9. Now, x is length, so length cannot be negative, so we cross it out. So x equals 4.3.